It's been several decades in the making, but in 2024, Francis Ford Coppola's magnum opus, Megalopolis, has finally been released to theaters. During a Q&A session prior to the beginning of the movie, Coppola brought up that he wanted to make his own movie which may or may not become another Apocalypse Now. A movie that wasn't going to be loved and appreciated by everyone, but something that would end up being true to his vision and something he could be proud of. And while yes, Apocalypse Now is a divisive film with an overall amazing rating, it also shares the same source material from one of my favorite shooters, Spec Ops: The Line, so I think of both of them pretty fondly. But now, with Coppola's latest movie finally seeing the light of day after all these years, and seeing all the breathtaking trailers that showed Coppola's vision for the future he hopes we can someday attain, or what he also referred to as a Roman epic set in modern America as Rome, was he able to get his message across, and will this be remembered as one of his greats like The Godfather, or is this going to be as bad as Jack? Yeah, remember Jack? Hey there, hello, what's good people? It's your boy Isaac, aka DatChickenWang, is part of the DatChickenWang gang, and I'm here to give you my thoughts and opinions on a movie I'm still trying to process, Megalopolis. In a metropolis that is slowly falling apart called New Rome, a genius architect named Caesar Catalina has been granted permission by the federal government to demolish and rebuild certain buildings in the city to make way for a new, sprawling, self-sustainable utopia. This utopia would be created off the back of a new element or material called megalon that Caesar unknowingly discovered. This megalon may be what has granted Caesar the power to control time, but how it works isn't fully discussed. Caesar is at odds with the current mayor of New Rome, Mayor Franklin Cicero, who wants to take the construction of the city in a different direction. Though what they both don't know yet is that the mayor's daughter, Julia, will insert herself into this feud going on between them, which will change all of their lives forever. So if that plot synopsis that I just gave sounded a little straightforward, that's because that's what most of the other websites that I've been looking at have as their actual plot for the movie. There is not a lot to go off of, but this movie does have a lot of other moving pieces that are going to pop up one after another, and as you get further more into the movie, you'll see for yourself. So another word you're going to hear associated with this movie quite often is spectacle, and whew, boy, this movie is a visual feast for the eyes. You are going to see so much amazing stuff in this movie, like the practical sets, the wardrobe of some of the characters, trying to keep to that Deco-Roman feel that they have set up for New Rome. Not New York, but New Rome. And there are even some dream sequences, some slight dance numbers, some drug-induced visions, but they're all there, and I appreciated watching them, even if some of them felt out of place or like they may have been better off in a Cirque du Soleil performance. It's just wow. The cinematography here is amazing and a joy to watch in motion. I'd say some of my favorite imagery in this movie involved a reimagining of a Roman Colosseum involving wrestling, celebrations, dancing, and a surprisingly great music number performed by Grace Vanderwall. The Roman Colosseum scene was one of the few scenes in the movie that actually played to the theme of this movie being a throwback to old Roman times. So it was great for them to actually incorporate this into the movie, even if it's just a minor part. I will say though, that while visually a lot of things look great in the movie, there are some visual metaphors that are being shown in the movie that may go over some people's heads, especially since it's hard to know if what we're seeing is supposed to be real or not. And as much as some people have actually theorized that Coppola might have used AI for this movie, maybe it isn't completely AI generated, some plot points might seem like they are, some of the visuals definitely were, but there's also a scene in the movie where somebody is actually getting duped by AI, so he's at least somewhat tech conscious about what's going on with AI in the world today. And another unfortunate thing about the whole script feeling like it was written up by AI is the fact that these actors in the movie, like everyone aside from Jon Voight, who's kind of just chewing up the scenery, everyone, including even Jon Voight, their performances are great in this movie. Like, Coppola had an all-star cast, and they're all aboard for his vision for this movie. And it really shows because there's not a single bad performance here. Everyone is great, which is unfortunate because the movie is so hard to put together despite their amazing performances. I really feel like the performances the actors gave for this film will be hit or miss with a lot of people, but a few performances really stood out. Adam Driver plays the genius that wants to create his self-sustaining utopia of Megalopolis. In the times where he does get to play around as the genius architect he's supposed to be, he really sold me on his performance. Even if it's a little cliche to have the genius spouting off Shakespearean soliloquies out of nowhere. The times, though, when he devolves into being more of a rich playboy was where he lost me. And there was even a part later in the movie where I wasn't sure if he was going to have a massive personality shift due to something that happened. But it's short-lived and kinda goes nowhere. Giancarlo Esposito plays Mayor Cicero, who is tasked with trying to make New Rome a thriving city for all who inhabit it, but he also has his own motivations for doing what he does. It's odd that the movie tried to play him off like he's a gritty villain early on, but I oftentimes found myself kind of agreeing with his ideals as far as taking care of the people now, whereas Caesar was looking far ahead to the future. Yes, these two characters have a very fractured past that will reveal itself later on in the movie, but I had trouble disliking Cicero because he didn't seem as bad as the movie may have wanted to portray him as. Either that or Esposito is just so charismatic that it made me overlook his flaws. Nathalie Emmanuel plays Julia Cicero, daughter of Mayor Cicero. She starts off as a socialite enjoying the almost hedonistic lifestyle she has, that is until a chance encounter in where she sees Caesar use his time manipulation powers has her reconsidering what she's doing with her life and if she's meant to help create something better. Against her father's wishes, she joins forces with Caesar to help him build this utopia he's envisioned. Although around the second half of the movie her role is greatly diminished, but she's still there whenever Caesar and her father butt heads. Jon Voight is just hamming it up for most of the movie, while also just being overall annoyed with the incompetence of the people around him, though he does bag the biggest baddie in the movie. And that's when we get to Aubrey Plaza, who plays the news reporter, Wow Platinum. Aubrey Plaza completely understood the assignment regarding her role in the movie, and she is nailing it in every single scene she's in. Her wardrobe choice throughout the movie is probably enough to get people in the theater alone, but the way she's playing an ambitious woman who is not happy with her current predicament and chooses to grab power for herself, and the lengths she's willing to go through to do it made for some of the most memorable, if not funnier moments in the movie. And lastly, as a surprise standout, Shia LaBeouf crashes the party to once again really go all out in his role as Claudio. Also becoming bored with his hedonistic lifestyle while also having an intense hatred for his cousin Caesar, he wants to prove to his father, Jon Voight, that he can take over the family business and inherit the bank. To do this, he has to prove himself, which ends up with him running for office and gaining supporters, while also at the same time emulating a real politician who has aligned himself, let's just say, people that want to make Rome great again and have no problems walking around with the actual black sun symbol on their foreheads. This will eventually lead him to joining forces with someone else looking to advance their positions, and they admittingly make a good team, if not to demonstrate how low these characters will go to get more and more power all for themselves. Oh yeah, and then there's of course Lawrence Fishburne, who has lent his voice to just about all of the trailers, playing the role of the black chauffeur and also the narrator. So with me giving this movie the high praise for the spectacle of it all, the characters, the acting, you would probably think that I really loved this movie for the most part, and it's hard to explain, but I've never wanted a movie to end as much as I want this one to, because it felt like it dragged on and on and on. This was under 2.5 hours, but it felt like a 4-hour long movie. One movie I'd compare this to because of all the intentional imagery going on, and because it's about someone wanting to create something involving a city, is Schenectady, New York. Philip Seymour Hoffman plays the role of a man whose life is currently falling apart after his wife and kids have left him. However, after pulling off a successful play of Death of a Salesman, he's given permission to create his own stage production and create something of a small city inside of it, where various actors play out their lives over the course of years to try and make this insane citywide stage production happen. While this movie may leave the audience asking a lot of questions throughout, it's much easier to piece together what is happening in that movie due to the plot continually focus on the main protagonists and the changes they're going through, along with a beautifully done finale. With Megalopolis, there are way too many moving pieces that oftentimes just don't work, or are plot threads that go nowhere, making for a less satisfying watch. So Adam Driver's character, Caesar, he has the ability to stop time or manipulate time in some way, and even though it's a big selling point in some of the trailers, the amount of times that he uses the ability to manipulate time, like, I can count that on my hand. And again, it doesn't have any relevance to the plot. Like, there might be one time where he's trying to figure out why he can't use it, and then he can, but even that's not explained to us. And unless you look up theories online, I don't know if there's any actual clear explanation as to how it works or why it doesn't work sometimes. So as far as social commentary goes, I think Francis Ford Coppola really had several messages that he wanted to get across, even if he's beating you over the head hard until you actually pay attention. He really wanted to emulate the political and social landscape of America as it is right now, and it may make some people uncomfortable, especially when that's an election season. Some things are hitting a little too close to home, and there's even like real life hate groups in this that are featured by symbols. So I applaud him for going the lengths he did to try and include this commentary in the movie, even if it doesn't always hit. So, in conclusion, I found Megalopolis to be a beautifully flawed film. This movie is a spectacle to behold. I know I've said that a lot during this review, but it truly is. I can't explain that enough. And the commentary, Francis Ford Coppola had his vision, and I think he could have handled it a little better, especially since things started to unravel near the end. And really, he could have just gotten his point across if he cut down 30 minutes of runtime and just let us all continue to see the journey that was going on with Caesar, Cicero, and Julia. So I think this is a movie that's going to be talked about by other video essayists and film classes for decades to come, rightfully so. But as a movie that's coming out right now, I don't think I would recommend it to the average movie-going audience. People were ready to walk out before the movie ended. I was personally just waiting for it to be over, so that's never a good sign, as beautiful as the movie is to look at. I would personally probably wait for this movie to come out on Blu-ray before I watch it again, maybe hang out with some friends and we can just enjoy the trippy good time we're going to have with it. But as far as being a regular movie-going person, I don't know if I would recommend this unless this is definitely your type of movie. So again, temper those expectations if you intend to go see this in theaters. I would recommend against it, but again, that's up to you. For as ambitious as this project was, it turned out to be a beautiful disaster for me. Dropping the runtime down a little bit may have bumped it up a point for me, but I can't in good faith recommend this to anyone that isn't already a big enough cinephile to appreciate a movie like this. So I'm going to give Megalopolis 5 out of 11 chicken wangs. If you think you can handle this movie and want to see the spectacle on the big screen, go right on ahead. But again, just temper those expectations. Well, if you made it this far into the review, thank you very much for taking the time to hear my thoughts and opinions on Megalopolis. Hopefully, if you like what you heard, I may have earned a like to subscribe from you. No pressure at all, but hey, I am not sure what I'm going to review, but another review coming hopefully soon, and I hope to see y'all there. Yo yo.